if this is depressing you still need some kind of goal, you could flip this all the way to how little can I possibly do and maintain my lean mass.
Yes. Yeah.
So can I get this down to 1 workout a week?
Bringing you a reasoned approach to health and fitness. This is the Phi Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Phi Life Podcast. I'm John Barban, and with me is Brad Pilon. And today we're going to talk about a depressing topic. And it's the harsh reality of aging and how your muscle mass or your muscle function just does not perform the same as when you were younger. And there's a reason why. And we're going to get into the actual structural changes, physiological changes. And even if your muscles are the same size as they were 20 years ago, they still aren't going to be as strong, as efficient. They're just not the same.
Yeah. So you can be, by the end of this podcast, can go Team Pilon with me, which is, despite how much sense John's about to make, we're just going to ignore and pretend like it's not true, because it's aggravating as people who like strength and like being strong, just to have a real thorough explanation of why you're just not going to get as strong as you get older. It just sucks. It really does.
Well, it's such a bummer, and it just makes training seem like pointless, but it isn't. It isn't pointless
in retrospect. Because when you suggested this topic, and I was like, I hate this topic. It did also give an idea of, the traditional bro mentality is it doesn't matter if you're 20 or 55, 70, you train the same, right? You train the same, and now it's like, no, there might actually be different optimal training methods throughout the life cycle, which means that, depending on the population of a study or the population of the gym, one style of working out may work better than others depending on the population. So I'm open to that. That makes it kind of cool.
Yeah. So this will explain why you change at least your intensity and your set and rep range throughout your life cycle. So there's a way you would train in your teens, 20s, and 30s that changes into your 40s, 50s, and beyond. And there's a good reason why, and we'll get to that. But the aging process, so what actually happens to the muscles as you age, is called dynapenia, and it is the overall loss of muscle function over time.
We're talking function, not size right now. So
that's sarcopenia. This is dynapenia. So sarcopenia is just the loss of muscle size, which eventually happens as well. But dynapenia is the loss of the function of the muscle as it pertains to force generation, let's say. So we've got a number of factors. So I've got they're kind of listed here, so I'm going to quickly review them. So you've got neuromuscular degeneration, so the loss of motor unit quality. So the motor unit,
the motor unit gets the signal from the brain.
Right. So a motor unit is what we would call the muscle fibers and the associated nerves that innervate that muscle fiber, sending the signal to the muscle fiber to fire. So we're not talking about just the nerve and just
the muscle fiber by itself, right?
No, we kind of always. Yeah. No, we're talking the motor unit. Now and then each nerve innervates a certain amount of fibers. So there's like a domain of fibers that they function with.
Gotcha.
And so what happens here is there's just straight up motor neuron death, leading to a denervation of muscle fibers. So
nerves
per
to the muscle
per mass of muscle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that you can have.
Is that a training effect? Maybe it's not an aging effect. Maybe it's just
no. I know you want this to be something other than age, but it's age. Some fibers can become reinnervated by surviving neurons, like type 1 slow twitch, but overall, there's less functional total motor units per muscle mass. So we're still not talking about the muscles changing in size, but there's less total motor neurons, less total nerves innervating that same amount of muscle.
Okay.
And so this leads to reduced motor unit firing rate, less precise recruitment, and slower coordination. All of those things go into strength.
Yes.
And explosiveness, like coordination. All of this matters. This motor unit firing rate, precision recruitment, coordination. This is all how powerlifters and elite strength athletes get stronger and stronger, but don't really get bigger. It's this sort of thing.
Too? Is that kind of a sprinter?
All of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's all about coordination. at a super crude way of describing coordination as far as muscle is this sort of stuff, muscle fiber recruitment.
Yeah.
Picture how writing your name with your dominant hand versus writing your name with your non-dominant hand, how much of a mess it is with your non-dominant hand.
Right.
Just imagine your muscles going from the dominant precision to the non-dominant. Like
so
that's,
I'm going to get less coordinated than I already am. That's not.
I know that's scary, right?
It's really scary. Just like, this is going to be by like a year from now. I have someone assisting me in drinking my water.
All right. And so next, fiber composition changes. We kind of touched on this, but type 2 fast twitch fibers, the high force fibers that we train when we're lifting heavier weights, those are more vulnerable to atrophy and aging. So these changes seem to hit those ones a bit more. Older individuals retain muscle volume via hypertrophy type 1 fibers, which kind of explains, again, just the loss of strength, but not necessarily total loss of mass. So you end up with less explosiveness, less peak strength, which, again, without the muscle mass technically really changing yet.
So your slow fibers are more resilient to the aging process?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Which is why so many people can be masters, runners, long distances, etc.
Right. And not so much denervation happens, and some reinnervation happens there when the type 2 fibers are losing their motor unit density.
Okay.
All right. So moving on, there's lots more that goes wrong here. Aging muscle accumulates intramuscular fat, myosteatosis, and connective tissue fibrosis. So this reduces the amount of truly contractile protein units, muscle fiber units within a mass of muscle tissue. So not every single fiber in there is a contractile protein. And over time, less percent of your skeletal muscle is actually contractile protein, with some of it like being fat accumulating in the muscle and some non-contractile tissue, like fibrous tissue. So you end up, so again, the muscles aren't getting smaller. There's just less contractile tissue.
Fat tissue and scar tissue build up inside it, basically.
It's like, kind of, yeah. Well, no, connective tissue, yeah, sort of. It's not technically fiber, but it's non-contractile, right?
Gotcha.
But if you go into a DEXA, it's still going to measure as lean mass.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
All of it, right? So that's it's well, not the fat accumulation, but the fibrosis is just still lean mass. It's not fat.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, excitation, contraction, coupling, impairment. With age, there's impaired calcium handling, sarcoplasmic reticulum function declines. So now we're talking about well, no, but now, okay, so calcium, like the electrochemical gradient between cells, that starts to is not as efficient too. So again, that's just another physiological change. Obviously that's probably happening in all cells, but just this another thing that's happening in muscle cells as well.
Okay.
And the end result there is a reduction of the efficiency and speed of contraction. Again, so that all of that has to do with power, not peak power. Peak power. So this again, but that's not that doesn't change the size of a muscle. That just means it's not as powerful.
Right.
So all of these things, like the muscle's not really getting any smaller. It's just not as efficient and powerful. So this is why when you in your 20s and 30s you can lift 250 pounds on whatever lift, and in your 50s you're like, well, I just can't get there. Like I'm at 200 pounds or 190 pounds. It feels like the same exertion as the 250 25 years ago. And then if you go get a scan, you're like, but I still have the same amount of muscle mass. Like this is happening to me right now.
Right.
Like I just did a DEXA a couple of days ago. I have the same lean mass as I did 25 years ago, but I can't push the same weights. And this is part of the reason why.
Gotcha.
Next, tendons become less stiff, so they don't have as much spring in them. So they're kind of loose. So this leads to delayed force transmission. Again, just another thing that reduces the amount of force you can put into the muscle. So, and this could, I'm sure you're already thinking this could compound on itself.
Yeah.
So all of these factors reduce the amount of force you can put into the muscle, which theoretically can reduce the amount of stimulus to grow the muscle. So you just can't generate the same amount of force. Now, there's another thing here: reduced intramuscular coordination and synchronization of the motor unit. So again, this is just another, like going from your dominant hand to your less dominant hand. The order in which they fire, how they're recruited, all of that stuff is part of peak strength. So that's or just power. It's all part of power. So all of these changes are happening without the muscle getting smaller. So therein lies the reason why you can get older with the same size muscles and they just cannot produce the same amount of force.
And
there's a reason why peak strength is somewhere in your 30s, late 20s, maybe 30ish. Like all the world record holders are somewhere around cluster right around 30 years old. And there's a reason why you don't just keep getting stronger and bigger and stronger, or just stronger, such that someone who starts training at 20 is 10 years stronger at 30, then 10 years more stronger at 40, then 10 years more. Like, why isn't a 70-year-old 70 years stronger or whatever, 60 years stronger? Like, it's not, that doesn't make any, like, it doesn't happen like that way. There's obviously a peak, and this is why the muscles.
Superhero math, right? It just keeps
right.
Stronger.
So the muscles themselves, what they're made of and how they function, starts to taper off over time. But they don't, they don't necessarily get smaller, not for a while.
Now that's what I was going to ask, though. This is sort of the beginning of the end, though, because without that force production in the gym, they will ultimately get smaller.
Yes, they're going to get smaller regardless. And even taking testosterone or any other kind of anabolics or a combo of anabolics, you cannot keep that muscle fiber, that muscle mass on indefinitely. All of the testosterone in the world likely can never overcome these changes over time.
Okay, so hold on. If 25-year-old Brad Pilon took testosterone for 8 weeks and 50-year-old Brad Pilon took testosterone for 8 weeks, the 25-year-old would get better results from the test is because of these factors, or no?
Yeah.
No, fuck.
But I mean, you'd still get results at 50, but that doesn't, for instance, the testosterone doesn't change all of these effects. Like you're already losing some of the neuromuscular, the motor unit loss, specific type 2 fiber atrophy, the muscle fat infiltration, like all of that stuff's already on its way. The calcium handling, the tendon elasticity, all of that, the neuromuscular coordination, that's still on its way down, even if you take testosterone, which is preserving mass. Like a lot of guys on TRT, I'm on TRT. That's probably part of how I'm just preserving mass, pushing less total weight.
Right.
But I still can't hit that number. Like you still can't get the strength numbers you used to have, even on testosterone, because you're working with different tissue. Like this tissue.
That's a good way to think of it. Yeah.
Yeah. This muscle, my 51-year-old muscle tissue is fundamentally different than my 20-year-old muscle tissue, no matter how much testosterone I have. It's just not working with the same actual raw materials.
So like outside of muscle transplants, right? You're not de-aging your muscles. You're delaying the process possibly with training, but you're not going to ever undo these things. Is that
you can't undo training? Can't undo these things. I don't even think these things technically matter, as long as you're training to preserve bone density. Okay, so now we're getting into how to think your way through how you should train.
That's what I'm trying to do right now.
Throughout your life cycle. So you can push if you want to. Again, if you don't care about this, just none of this matters. But if you're interested in gaining maximum muscle size and strength within what's possible for your body, assuming you're not just going to mainline tons of anabolics for 10 years, like that's a different story. But kind of almost as well as if you do some of that, your peak muscle mass and peak muscle strength will arrive somewhere in your mid to late 20s. But strength and mass, somewhere maybe around 30, but mostly mid to late 20s for most of us, right? If you start training in your late teens or right around 20, it's within the first 5-6 years in that range, you're going to hit the peak of all. If you start training in your 30s, maybe, I don't know that you're ever going to hit the same peak you could have hit if you started in your teens. I don't know if we have really good comparative data there. Most people who take training, especially training for size and strength seriously, get at it really young. There's not too many people who start that in their 30s and then become like world class at it somewhere in their 30s. So I think you lose, and we've talked about this, I think you lose some of that potential if you start later in life. It doesn't mean you can't progress a lot. It's just I think you miss out on your true peak, which would have been younger.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's the time, though. In your 20s is the time to push for maximum mass and maximum strength. Then somewhere in your 30s, it's typical to back way off on the big lifts, like squat and deadlift maximum pushes. Like no more fiddling with one rep maxes at that age range. I mean, now if you compete and it's something you take seriously, fine. But for everybody
You're
else,
age grouped when you compete, right?
yeah, I think there's a master's category. Yeah. But either way, for everybody else, I'd say already in your early 30s, you should be backing off on heavy lifts. Especially the big compound ones where you can really get messed up. Like you shouldn't be pushing maximum squats, maximum bench press, maximum deadlifts, maximum overhead press. I mean, you should never really be doing that. But in your 30s, early 30s, you should already be backing off of those. And I don't know, 6 type rep range should be your lowest. Like I wouldn't push much past that. Then in your 40s, I'd be backing away from that even more, especially the volume on those or the frequency on those type of lifts at that higher intensity. And as you move into your 50s and 60s, the rep range has to get bigger, which means by definition, the amount of weight you're pushing gets lighter. And I guess the simplest way to think about it is you're just chasing the pump at that point. That's kind of the simple way to think your way through. What the hell am I even doing there?
As much muscle mass as possible. Right?
Yeah, to maintain. And the point there is you're trying to reduce the risk of injury, which is always going up as these muscle structure and function changes happen. Your risk of injury just keeps going up because the tissue itself, like you lose elasticity in your connective tissues. That means they're more prone to tears and strains. Right. Just picture like silly putty or a piece of chewing gum that's like fresh out of the package. If you just pull it, it'll just rip right in half. But if you chew on it a bit, it gets soft and like stretchy. Yeah. Like picture the older the muscle is, the drier the gum gets to the point where if you stretch on it too much, it'll just tear. So, and then that's the reason why you have to do a lot more warming up when you get older.
I was just going to ask about the warm ups. Yeah. Okay. That's
So peak strength. Peak strength is in your 20s. That's when it's time to chase it. That's when your tissues can handle chasing it. That's when they're your highest chance of surviving those type of workouts without getting an injury. And even then, lots of people get injured in their 20s.
Yeah.
But you will, at least you can really recover from it.
Yeah, but then at least you can recover from it, right? Yeah, I guess.
Right. But in your 30s, start backing off on the heavy lifts and I don't eliminate them, but back off on pushing them really hard. Like no more 3 rep stuff, 5 rep stuff.
Right.
And in your 40s, back that off even to like the 8 to 10 rep range. And then 50s and beyond, you're basically just chasing the pump. It doesn't make any sense to be pushing that heavy because your muscles just aren't going to respond the way they used to respond. And if you have been consistent,
so it's not that you can't. It's a higher risk of injury, and it's actually a less efficient way to build or maintain muscle mass because they just can't respond to that stimulus the way they used to.
Yeah, the risk of injury just keeps going up because and for no true benefit because the muscle, as we've seen, all the changes limit its ability to respond to the stimulus anyways. So you're pushing heavy, whatever heavy is for you in your 50s or 60s, but it won't be anywhere close to what it used to be. And the muscle, its structure and function changes. It just can't respond as well, but the risk of injury just keeps going up and up and up.
And that interests me because so much of the weight training, muscle building, strength building research, sometimes is, recreational athletes between the ages of 18 and 65 partook in the study. And you're like, well, if it's more 18 versus more 65, you're going to get different results. Right. So, then if you almost to the point where if you just had an exact blend of 18 and 55, you may get worse results than someone who had, skewed more one way or the other, depending on the way that weight training was set up. So that's fascinating.
So that's a good point. And so the other thing, so I'm speaking with a bias towards people who have been training since their 20s with this entire talk. If you're just starting in your 40s or 50s and you just, I don't know, you've heard or read that, man, this is really important, I should really start this. Your 3 rep max is going to be so light compared to, like, you're just not going to be able to lift heavy enough for it to be that dangerous.
Yeah.
Like you would have never built the strength and
even
the
without
experience.
Danger, it's a less efficient way to train at that age because of the things you mentioned.
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
It's just probably still less efficient. There's almost no reason to ever go that heavy ever. but I'm just talking about guys who've had that experience. And like we all did it. We all trained really heavy. But if someone's adopting a weight training routine in their 40s or 50s, you don't ever have to go that heavy. But at the same time, if you probably can't generate enough force to cause that much damage because you haven't built the base strength in the beginning anyways.
Right.
But again, I would still say within those decades of life, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, there's no reason to go whatever that max number is, no matter how light it happens to be for you. It's still pointless to push to that limit. I just don't think there's any real benefit versus the true risk there.
Gotcha.
And the risk just keeps going up. A risk for injury just keeps going up and up and up. So that's kind of it. That's just the thought process of how to picture how to work out over time, at least with weights. This has nothing to do with cardio and all of that stuff. This is just directly like, why would you? What's the theory on how you should be training in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond? And this is essentially the reason why your muscles just fundamentally are not the same, and they will not respond the same.
Interesting. Okay.
It sucks, right?
Yeah, it does, but it's also nice to know that there is a reason then to adjust a training protocol as opposed to just pushing through.
Well, you're just you're not getting any bigger. You're just not getting any bigger. And the only way to get bigger later in life is to mainline a bunch of anabolics.
Right.
And at some point, that's not even going to work. But what's the point? Why are you trying to get bigger later in life? That's pointless. Really, if you've been training with any consistency through your 20s, you probably hit your peak muscle mass then. And your goal now with all of your training is to hold that muscle mass with the least amount of stimulant possible while not causing any increased risk of injury, any unnecessary increased risk of injury. So if you could preserve that muscle mass only training 3 hours a week, and then the fourth hour just introduces risk of injury, you don't really have to put that fourth hour in, or just be more and more conservative with the extra time. If you just like being in the gym and just chasing the pump, that's fine. But not with the heavier weights. It's like you got to back off on the weights as you get older. And it's just, I mean, you do whatever you want, but to preserve muscle long term and reduce injury risk, that's just how it has to go.
Interesting. Yeah. So you can still chase the heavy weight, but it might actually be at your detriment when it comes to the most effective style training for your age.
Yeah. And I don't know why people would chase weight. I guess it's ego or something.
Yeah, you get addicted to it, right? If that's how you learned how to measure progress, it's very hard to unlearn that.
Yeah. I think the other thing there is to get used to the idea that the one thing you can really change is fat mass.
Yeah.
And you can really change the composition and look.
And maybe it's so much of the look is fat mass, right?
Right. So, and that can be manipulated almost at any age. Like fat mass can go up and down, and you can, like, if it's this need to see progress, and if you can't see it in strength going up and you can't see it in muscles getting bigger, you can at least see it in, oh man, I'm getting leaner. Oh, like my hip to waist or shoulder to waist ratio is looking better. Oh, I can kind of at least get an aesthetic change.
Yeah.
But that's all going to have to do with fat mass. It's not going to really have anything to do with muscles getting any bigger.
Yeah. And you can make them look bigger by getting leaner. I mean, we've talked about that a ton.
Yeah, of course.
There's ways to do that. But yeah, to your point, it's not going to be by just jacking up to a 600-pound deadlift at 58 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing is if this is depressing you still need some kind of goal, you could flip this all the way to how little can I possibly do and maintain my lean mass.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, can I get this down to one workout a week?
Right.
Now, again, if you just enjoy being in the gym, you can go and just get the blood moving around as many times as you want. Just know that you have to back off on the total weight. But if you kind of view at least your weight training, if you just view your weight training as, I just do this as a dose response, I'm only doing it to stimulate muscles. That's it. Like, I don't actually care to be in the gym any longer than necessary. Then maybe your new goal is like, oh, I can get all this done in 1 hour a week.
Yes.
Like I just did, I just moved, which is the worst experience ever.
Oh, it's horrible.
And I took about 4 weeks off of training, and I just did a DEXA, and my lean mass is within a pound of where it was before. So in a month of doing no workout, I'm within the error range of what the machine, a pound one way or another could just be just a meal and I would be up a pound. So my lean mass is basically the same after a month of not working out. So is it 1 workout a month? That's probably not enough, but it's definitely not 4 hours a week. Like it's a lot less to maintain the mass that I've currently built. Now, to be fair, I'm on TRT, so that's probably helping me hold the mass. So, and then take that into account. If you're not, maybe you have to do more. But if you are, maybe your actual weight training can be scaled way, way back. And I'm noticing little nagging injuries is healing way better. And it's just occurring to me now, I don't really need to be in that sore post-workout state as often as we were when we were younger.
Right.
And I've got...
And you can spend that time doing other stuff, right? So,
and I've got multiple DEXA scans to prove that even after 4 weeks, it's nothing really changes. All the mass is there. Yeah, I'm not as strong, but I don't care about that. We've already discussed you're just not going to be as strong.
Yeah.
And to me, the focus of the time spent dedicated to exercise has to be more longevity based for me, specifically reducing cardiovascular risk.
Right.
Okay. So it's more actually just heart rate stuff.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else.
It would be cool to continue that and get another DEXA like in another couple months, right? And just continue and see what the time course is like there.
Oh, but not train for even more?
Yeah, or keep it minimal, right? Like and see what it looks
like. That's interesting. So maybe this is the start of the once a week experiment, see what happens?
Yeah. Like the rest of the time, just like walking and stuff like that. And then, hit a whole body once or twice and call it a day and go from there. Yeah,
maybe I'll do that.
Hang on.
All right. Well, so
yeah, nice.
This is where it's starting. So we'll check back in 3 months, and I'll do like a completely minimalistic workout for the next 3 months and do a DEXA and see where we get to.
Perfect. Nice.
Right.
With the understanding that you are on TRT but then that speaks to every other guy on TRT that, hey, this could be something you can do. Yeah.
Well, it also might be like it's inevitable. We all should get on TRT at some point if we want to preserve muscle mass, bone density, all that. Oh yeah, bone density, all of that matters too, right? So I'm taking all that into account when I'm mentioning the DEXA.
Yeah, because the DEXAs do measure bone density as well.
And that's another important thing for longevity. If anything, that's the other really important reason to continue pushing some kind of weight.
100%. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, so this is the start of the 3-month experiment.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so for Brad Pilon, I'm John Barban, and that's your Phi Life Podcast.
Peace.